Welcome to the Deep Dive Cast. This is where we unpack the world's most impactful business and self-help bestsellers. Get ready to go beyond the pages and transform your life. Let's dive in.
Have you ever just hit a wall mentally? You know, one of those days where your brain feels totally fried, like sludge?
Oh, definitely.
Even if you haven't really done much physically, right? Maybe just hours wrestling with your inbox, or I don't know, making a million tiny decisions.
Yeah, that feeling is real.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into something fascinating. The hidden economics of your mental energy. We're kind of pulling back the curtain on how your brain works, sometimes prioritizing convenience over accuracy.
Right. And we're drawing on some really solid sources here, including, the foundational work of Daniel Kahneman.
Our mission really is to help you understand how your attention, your effort, how these function as like precious finite resources.
And Kahneman's work is key here. Most people know about his System 1 and System 2 idea, right?
Yeah, the fast and slow thinking.
Exactly. System 1, super fast, intuitive, almost automatic, like recognizing a face, you don't even think about it.
Effortless.
Pretty much. Then there's System 2. That's your slow, deliberate, logical brain. The one that does the heavy lifting, like solving a tough math problem.
But here's the kicker, isn't it? System 2, the powerful one, it's also, well, it's kind of lazy.
That's the revelation. Inherently lazy. It's always looking for the easy way out, trying to conserve energy.
So it often just defers. It lets System 1 take the wheel.
Bingo. And that's where the problems start. Because System 1 is full of biases, gut feelings, shortcuts. And if System 2 isn't double-checking, those biases just run wild.
Which means your attention, your mental effort, it's not an infinite well. It's more like a budget.
A really strict budget. Your mental capital, you could say. And when you spend it all, your thinking gets fuzzy.
Depleted.
Seriously depleted. Your ability to actually weigh options rationally suffers. You start defaulting to the easiest choice, not necessarily the best one.
They're like sliding towards, what did you call it? Cognitive bankruptcy?
Yep. It sounds dramatic, but it's a useful way to think about it. Errors pile up, judgment gets shaky. That System 2 laziness saves energy, sure, but the cost is accuracy, often big time.
Okay, so if mental energy is like this capital, what's draining the account without us realizing it? One big thing is cognitive load, right?
Absolutely. Think of cognitive load as everything your working memory is juggling at that moment.
Like a mental backpack.
Good analogy. And there are different kinds of weight in that backpack. There's intrinsic load, just how hard the task itself is.
Makes sense. Some tasks are just heavier.
Then there's extraneous load. That's all the unnecessary junk. The distractions, the confusing instructions, the cluttered desk.
The notifications constantly popping up.
Exactly. That's pure extraneous load.
Yeah.
And then there's germane load, which is actually the good kind of effort, the mental work that leads to real learning and understanding.
But System 2, our working memory, it can't handle much, can it? Like 4 things.
Roughly, yeah. Maybe 4 chunks of information. So when that extraneous load, the distractions, the clutter gets too high, System 2 just gets overwhelmed.
And defaults back to being lazy, more prone to bias.
Precisely. And think about modern life information overload is huge. It swamps System 2, leading straight to decision paralysis.
Yeah.
You just can't process it all.
Analysis paralysis, been there.
We all have.
So along with cognitive load, there's this other drain, decision fatigue, or sometimes called ego depletion.
Right. Same basic idea. Your willpower, your self-control, it's like a muscle. Use it too much, and it gets tired, exhausted even.
Every single decision chips away at it.
Pretty much, yeah. Even small ones. And the consequences. Your decision quality tanks, you procrastinate more, your creativity could even dry up.
There's that famous example, isn't there, President Obama?
Ah, yes. The suits. He apparently only wore gray or blue suits.
Why?
To eliminate a trivial decision. He wanted to save his finite mental energy, that decision-making power, for the really big, important stuff.
Wow. So even choosing clothes adds up.
Cumulatively, absolutely. It drains those reserves.
Okay, this sounds a bit draining just talking about it. Is there an opposite state, a way to work where it doesn't feel like such a slog?
Yes, thankfully. It's what Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi called the flow state.
Flow, right. Deep immersion.
Total absorption. Kahneman called it effortless attending. It's when you're so into something you lose track of time, the challenge perfectly matches your skills.
What makes it happen?
Key things are clear goals, immediate feedback, and that balance between the challenge and your skill level.
Yeah.
Not too hard, not too easy.
And the payoff.
Peak performance, basically.
Yeah.
You're super efficient, productive, creative, and it feels good. Effortless, almost. It's the best return on your mental investment.
Okay, so we want less drain, more flow. How do we actually do that? What are the practical steps for, managing this mental capital better?
Well, first off, embrace deep work. Carve out dedicated, uninterrupted blocks of time for your hardest tasks.
Protect that system too.
Exactly. Protect it from constant switch costs. Every time you switch tasks, you lose mental energy. The Pomodoro technique can help here, for instance.
And automate that decide once idea, like the Obama suit thing.
Yes. Pre-plan meals, set up routines, make decisions once to avoid making them over and over again. Reduce that decision fatigue.
Makes sense. Control your environment too, right?
Mm,
Less extraneous load.
definitely. Turn off notifications.
Of course, right.
Use website blockers if you need to. Tidy your workspace.
Yeah.
Minimize those distractions that overload System 2.
And maybe be pickier about information, like curate your news feed.
Be intentional about your information diet. Don't just passively consume everything. Fight that overload.
And finally, recovery. Can't forget that.
Crucial. Your brain needs downtime. Good sleep is non-negotiable. Take real breaks. Get outside. Maybe try some mindfulness. You have to recharge that battery.
So the big takeaway here is it's not just about willpower.
Not at all. It's about understanding that your attention and effort are limited resources. Mastering your mental energy is about being strategic, proactive, designing your life, your routines, your environment to support your thinking brain, your System 2.
Right. Working smarter, not just harder on willpower alone.
Precisely.
Okay, so a final thought for you listening right now. Reflect on this with just one small, maybe seemingly tiny decision you could automate this week, something you could decide once on to free up just a little bit of that precious mental energy for something that truly matters. We often hear that two heads are better than one, right? Especially when you're making big decisions.
Yeah, it just seems logical. More people, better outcome.
But today we're diving into something really interesting from Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel laureate. His book, Thinking Fast and Slow.
Right. And he uncovers this paradox. It's fascinating. He talks about our two modes of thought, System 1 and System 2.
Okay, so System 1 is the super fast, intuitive bit, like knowing 2 plus 2 is 4 almost instantly.
Exactly. Automatic. And System 2 is the slower, more deliberate one. The one you use for, say, 17 times 24 or trying to parallel park. Takes effort.
Right. You have to consciously think.
Mm-hmm. And here's the kicker. Groups, even though you'd expect them to be smarter collectively, often end up amplifying biases.
Wait, how? You mean the group dynamic itself causes problems?
Precisely. What should be collective wisdom can turn into, collective folly. Our social instincts can actually override our rational thinking.
So our basic need to get along messes things up? How does that actually happen in a group meeting, for example?
Well, the core problem is that System 1, our automatic social side, wanting to belong, keep harmony, even just imitate others, it often just takes over, especially if we're stressed or under pressure.
Okay.
And one huge way this shows up is groupthink.
Ah, groupthink. I've heard of that. That's where everyone kind of nods along to keep the peace, even if they have doubts. Sort of agreement at any cost.
That's it. The mechanism is often self-censorship. People just don't voice their concerns. They suppress their own doubts to maintain that feeling of group cohesion.
Like they don't want to rock the boat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The classic example often cited is the Bay of Pigs invasion. Kennedy's advisors apparently had serious private doubts.
It didn't speak up.
But didn't speak up effectively.
Right.
And it led to disaster. It creates this illusion of unanimity because nobody objects. Everyone thinks everyone else agrees.
Wow. Okay. And it's not just about keeping quiet, right? There's also conformity bias.
Yeah, that's another big one.
Yeah.
Where individuals actually start to align their own beliefs or behaviors with the group. Real or even just perceived pressure.
Why do we do that? Is it about wanting to be right or wanting to be liked?
Both, really. Kahneman and others talk about informational influence. You conform because you think the group knows better. You want to be correct.
Mm-hmm.
And normative influence, you conform because you want to fit in, be accepted, liked by the group.
You see that everywhere, like fashion trends, or remember those huge queues for certain phones?
Totally. Or think about stuff like the mass consumption of luxury brands you might see in some places. Sometimes it's driven by that fear of missing out, FOMO, wanting to signal you belong.
Right. And then there's another one you mentioned, information cascades. What's that?
Ah, yeah. Information cascades are tricky. It's when people start making decisions based only on what others before them did, completely ignoring their own private information or research.
So you might have done your homework, but you see everyone else doing something different and you just follow.
Exactly. The crucial flaw is that new independent information stops entering the pool. Everyone's just copying the person ahead of them.
Like picking a busy restaurant next to an empty one, even if you read a great review for the empty place.
Perfect example. You assume the crowd knows best, even if your own info says otherwise. The crowd's wisdom might just be random early choices.
Okay, this is kind of sobering. So how do we actually make better group decisions? How do we get System 2 back in the driver's seat?
Well, the main goal is to actively, deliberately cultivate that System 2 thinking in the group setting. Make space for it.
Oh.
One really effective technique is appointing a devil's advocate.
Someone whose actual job is to argue against the main idea.
Precisely. Their role is explicitly to challenge the prevailing view, point out potential downsides, ask what's missing. It forces everyone to engage more deeply.
That makes sense. Does it work in big groups?
Yeah, though for larger groups, say 7 or more people, maybe have 2 devil's advocates. That way one person doesn't feel so isolated pushing back.
Good point. What else?
Another powerful tool is independent opinion collection before the main discussion starts.
How does that work? Like write stuff down first.
Yeah, exactly. Ask everyone to jot down their initial ideas or opinions independently, maybe even anonymously, like a secret ballot before a debate or submitting ideas online beforehand.
Ah, so the first person who speaks doesn't anchor everyone else's thinking.
You got it. It prevents that early conformity pressure and gets more genuine, diverse ideas on the table from the start.
But, you know, even with these techniques, it feels like the overall vibe of the group matters a lot.
Absolutely critical. Leaders have to create psychological safety.
Meaning people feel safe to speak up without getting shot down.
Exactly. An atmosphere where people feel they can voice dissent, raise concerns, admit mistakes, ask questions without fear of punishment or embarrassment. Focus feedback on the idea or the strategy. Never make it personal.
Okay, so let's bring this home. For you listening, as an individual in a group, what are some practical steps?
Well, you can be a sort of mini devil's advocate yourself, just by gently asking questions like, what are the potential downsides here? Or have we thought about other options? Also, try really hard to form your own opinion first, before you get into the group discussion. Do your own thinking.
Right, so you're less likely to just get swept along.
And just be aware of your own System 1 triggers. Are you tired, stressed, rushed? If so, maybe push for deferring a big decision or make an extra effort to slow down and engage System 2.
Makes sense. And for leaders, what should they be doing?
Leaders need to be intentional about the process. Formalized dissent actually assign devil's advocates regularly for important stuff. Don't just hope someone speaks up.
Be structural about it.
Yes, and actively seek out diverse input. Don't just listen to the usual suspects. Make sure junior members or people with different backgrounds feel empowered to contribute. And maybe try doing pre-mortems.
Pre-mortems, what's that?
It's where you imagine the project or decision has already failed, like fast forward 6 months, and it's a disaster. Then you brainstorm why it failed. It's a great way to uncover risks proactively.
That's clever. Thinking backwards to see the flaws.
Yeah, it bypasses some of that optimistic bias we all have.
So understanding all these biases, it really is an ongoing thing, isn't it? Especially now with social media echo chambers and how fast ideas spread online. Classic System 1 traps.
Definitely a journey.
Okay, so here's something to think about. Knowing how strong these group pressures are, these System 1 pulls, what's one specific structured change you will make in your next group decision? How will you ensure you're getting real collective wisdom and not just, collective agreement? Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really plunging into the fascinating world of human judgment. We'll be guided by Daniel Kahneman's amazing work, Thinking Fast and Slow. You've shared some incredible sources, and our mission today really is to pull out the key insights about how our minds handle statistics, or maybe more accurately, how they sometimes, stumble spectacularly.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. And what's really central is Kahneman's framework of these 2 cognitive systems. You've got System 1, that's the fast, intuitive, kind of automatic pilot. And then there's System 2, which is, slow, deliberate, logical.
Okay, so System 1 is great for quick takes, quick judgments.
Exactly. But here's the catch. It's pretty clueless when it comes to logic and numbers, like it has almost no understanding of statistics.
Which leads to these systematic errors, these repeated mistakes.
Spot on.
So if our gut feelings, our System 1, can be so misleading with data and probabilities, why don't we just use System 2 all the time, our analytical mind?
Ah, well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
System 2, while it can do the heavy lifting,
It requires effort.
a lot of effort. Kahneman often describes it as, well, lazy. Our brains seem wired to conserve energy.
So we default back to System 1.
We often do, yeah. We default back to
Yeah.
those flawed intuitions, even when we really need that careful, deliberate thought. It's not just about not knowing enough. It's sort of fundamental to how we think.
Wow. So this preference for the easy way, System 1, it leads us straight into these statistical traps.
Precisely.
It's amazing how easily we fall for them. So, okay, if our deliberate thinking, System 2, is so reluctant to jump in, what are some of those classic pitfalls? Let's maybe unpack a few Kahneman highlights.
Absolutely. Okay, one of the biggest is ignoring base rates.
Base rates, right, the background information.
Exactly. The overall frequencies, the background probabilities. Our System 1 just overlooks these critical numbers when it sees something vivid or specific.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about, say, a fictional disease. It affects maybe 1 in 1,000 people. That's your base rate. Now, you take a test that's 90% accurate.
Okay, 90% sounds pretty good.
Right. System 1 immediately goes, 90% accurate. Great. If I test positive, I probably have it.
But that's not necessarily true.
Not when you factor in the low base rate.
Yeah.
System 2, if you engage it, realizes that even with 90% accuracy, because the disease is so rare, you'll actually get a lot of false positives. Your actual chance of having the disease, even with a positive test, might still be quite low.
That's powerful. System 1 is just grabbed by the specific case, the test result, and misses the bigger statistical picture entirely.
Exactly. It's drawn to the story, not the statistics.
Okay. What else does it stumble on?
Another classic is regression to the mean.
Regression to the mean sounds statistical.
It is. It's just the phenomenon where extreme results, really good or really bad, tend to be followed by results closer to the average. Simple statistics, really.
But System 1 doesn't like that.
No. Our intuitive System 1 hates random fluctuation. It's always looking for a cause. Kahneman uses this great example with Air Force flight instructors.
Oh, yeah.
They noticed that when they praised a pilot for an exceptionally good landing, the pilot often did worse the next time. But if they yelled at a pilot after a really bad landing...
They often did better.
Right. So System 1 immediately concludes, aha, scolding works, praise doesn't.
But the real reason, it wasn't the scolding, was it?
Almost certainly not. It was likely just regression to the mean. The pilot had an unusually good or bad day, and their performance naturally just drifted back towards their average.
So System 1 invents a cause the scolding where there probably wasn't one.
Exactly. It misinterprets that natural return to average as a direct effect. It blinds us to the fact that extreme performance is just, well, unstable.
Okay, and the last big one we hear about all the time, correlation versus causation. How does System 1 mess that up? Kahneman must have insights there, too.
Oh, absolutely. He really shows how deeply wired we are to confuse them. It's not just that we forget the rule. Correlation isn't causation.
It's deeper than that.
Much deeper. Our minds, especially System 1, are basically causality-seeking machines. We're wired to automatically create a causal story, even when there isn't one.
Making us vulnerable to seeing links that aren't real.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like you might see data showing more storks in regions with higher birth rates. System 1 loves that. It starts building a narrative.
Ah, right.
But System 2, if engaged, might go, hang on, maybe both are linked to, say, how rural or urban the area is. Not directly to each other, but System 1 just jumps to the cause-effect story because it feels coherent.
So just to recap for everyone listening, we've seen System 1's shortcuts, how they make us ignore the bigger picture with base rates, find false causes in regression to the mean, and jump to conclusions about correlation and causation. What's the takeaway for you, the listener?
Well, I think connecting this to the bigger picture, overcoming these biases isn't really about, getting rid of System 1. That's impossible and often useful.
Right, it's fast for a reason.
It's about recognizing its limits. It's about consciously, strategically engaging System 2 when the stakes are high or when numbers are involved.
So for you listening, this means actively looking for those base rates, questioning the really vivid stories.
Yes, and always challenging those assumed causal links. Ask yourself, could there be another explanation? Regression to the mean, a third factor causing both.
It sounds like the journey to better statistical thinking is, well, it's ongoing. It's not just about willpower, is it?
Not entirely, though that helps.
Hmm.
I think the ultimate takeaway from Kahneman and others in this field is that maybe the most effective approach involves designing our environments, our processes.
To nudge us.
Exactly, to nudge us towards smarter, more data-driven choices, making it easier to avoid those System 1 traps. What really stands out to you from our deep dive today?
For me, it's that constant tension, the laziness of System 2 versus the errors of System 1.
Which raises, I think, an important question to leave people with. Beyond just trying harder as individuals, how can we collectively create what they call choice architectures?
You mean systems or environments?
Yeah, systems that make rational, statistically sound decisions the easier path.
Yeah.
How do we embed better statistical thinking into our daily routines, our workplaces, our society?
Something to definitely mull over.
Indeed. Until our next deep dive. Welcome. Today we're diving into Daniel Kahneman's really groundbreaking work in Thinking Fast and Slow. It challenges, well, pretty much everything you thought you knew about happiness.
It really does.
Our mission today is to unpack these ideas, the experiencing self and the remembering self, and figure out why your brain might be, subtly working against your own happiness and what you can actually do about it.
Sounds good. Where should we start?
Okay, let's get into it. Kahneman basically splits our consciousness. He says there are these two distinct parts, and they're often at odds.
Right.
First up is the experiencing self. This is the you that's living purely in the moment, right now.
Exactly. It's all about the immediate sensations, feelings, what's happening right now.
Each moment is what, like 3 seconds long? Super fleeting.
About that, yeah. And the interesting thing is, most of these moments, they just vanish. You don't store them.
Wow, okay.
But for this self, duration is key. So a 2-week vacation, if both weeks are equally fun, it is genuinely twice as good as a 1-week trip. Time matters directly.
Makes sense for the now self.
Yeah.
But then there's the other one.
Ah, yes, the remembering self. And this is where the real contrast comes in. This is your inner storyteller.
The one constructing the narrative of your life.
Precisely. But here's the twist. It doesn't really care that much about how long things lasted. Duration neglect, he calls it.
So it doesn't value that 2-week holiday as double a 1-week one.
Not necessarily. It focuses much more on the intense moments, the peaks, any changes, and really, really crucially, how the experience ended.
The ending, right?
Yeah.
I've heard about this.
And what's fascinating, maybe even a bit scary, is that this remembering self, it's the one making most of your decisions.
Wait, so it's deciding based on what will make a good memory later?
Often, yes. It's
Yeah.
trying to maximize future memories, not necessarily the quality of future experiences as they happen.
That sounds potentially problematic. Like, you could push yourself through something unpleasant just because you know the ending will make you remember it fondly.
That's exactly it. Kahneman calls it the tyranny of the remembering self. The experiencing self might suffer, but the remembering self gets the final vote, retrospectively.
Huh.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for this? Like, evolutionarily?
Oh, absolutely. These biases aren't just quirks. They likely evolved to help us survive. Conserving brain energy, your brain can't store everything.
So it prioritizes.
Right. Remembering the intense fear when you nearly stepped on a snake is way more important for survival than remembering every single pleasant minute of a walk in the woods. It's efficient for survival.
But maybe not always for moment-to-moment happiness.
Exactly. Not necessarily optimized for ongoing well-being.
And this shows up in things like the peak end rule.
Precisely. We judge experiences based on the peak intensity, good or bad, and the very end.
You mentioned experiments.
Yeah, the classic cold water experiment.
Yeah.
People put their hands in painfully cold water. One trial was shorter, say 60 seconds. Another was longer, 90 seconds, but the water warmed up slightly in the last 30 seconds. When asked which trial they'd rather repeat, most chose the longer one.
Because the end was slightly less painful, even though they suffered for longer overall.
Exactly. The remembering self focused on the less awful ending and kind of ignored the extra duration of pain.
Wow. And the colonoscopy study, too.
Similar idea. Patients whose procedure was deliberately extended by a few minutes, with the scope just sitting there, less uncomfortable than the main part, they rated the whole experience as less unpleasant afterwards.
Just adding a slightly better ending completely changed the memory.
It frames the entire memory. Think about Disneyland.
Well,
They engineer peaks photos with characters, exciting rides, and then the grand finale, the fireworks, the kiss goodnight. It shapes your memory, making you perhaps forget the hour-long queues or the heat.
they're managing your remembering selves. Tie in with that duration neglect you mentioned.
They work hand in hand. The length of the queues, the overall time spent. It fades compared to the peak moments and that strong positive ending.
Okay, so if our memories are shaped this way, and these selves are often in conflict, what does this actually tell us about being happy? Are memories even like accurate recordings?
They're constructed narratives, not perfect videos.
Mm-hmm.
And our brain's negativity bias, its tendency to focus more on bad stuff, can skew things further. Think of a wonderful concert,
Mm-hmm.
ruined in your memory by one awful screech of feedback right at the very end. The remembering self latches onto that negative end.
So there's a real split then. Kahneman distinguishes between being happy in your life, that's the experiencing self, moment by moment,
Right, how you feel day to day.
and being happy about your life.
Yeah.
That's the remembering self looking back, your overall life satisfaction.
Exactly. And surprisingly, these two types of happiness are only weakly correlated. Maybe around 0.5, which isn't as strong as you might think.
That is surprising. What drives each one?
Well, the research suggests experiencing self-happiness, feeling good day to day, is heavily influenced by who you spend your time with. Friends, loved ones, social connection.
Okay. And the other one, life satisfaction.
That seems more tied to achieving goals, conventional success metrics. Things like financial prosperity play a bigger role for the remembering self's assessment.
Interesting. One is about the journey, the other about the destination almost.
Kind of, yeah. It's the difference between feeling good now versus feeling good about the story of your life.
So what can we actually do with this if we want to be happier overall?
It suggests a kind of two-pronged approach. You need to tend to both selves.
Okay, how do you nurture the experiencing self, the one living now?
Mindfulness is key here. Practices that bring you into the present moment without judgment.
Like mindful eating, maybe.
Yeah.
Or just focusing on one task.
Exactly. Or grounding exercises like the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. Notice 5 things you see, 4 things you feel, and so on. It's about actively tuning in and, as psychologist Rick Hansen says, taking in the good when it happens. Don't just let pleasant moments wash over you unnoticed.
Savor them a bit more.
Yeah.
Got it. And for the remembering self, the storyteller.
There, you can be strategic. Intentionally use the peak end rule to your advantage. Plan endings. Finish a tough workout with a pleasant cool down. And a work session by completing a satisfying small task. If you're giving gifts, maybe save the most anticipated one for last.
Ah, craft a better ending for your own memory.
Precisely. And deliberately create positive peaks within experiences too. Make moments stand out.
Right. And what about big decisions? If the remembering self is usually driving, how do we avoid making choices we regret in the moment?
That's crucial. First, just being aware of these biases is a huge step. Knowing your decisions might be skewed towards memory making rather than lived experience.
So pause before jumping.
Yes. Engage what Kahneman calls System 2, thinking your slower, more rational, deliberate mind. Don't just rely on System 1 gut feelings, which are often driven by the remembering self's shortcuts.
And maybe keep track of things to counteract duration neglect.
That can help. Using a journal or even just objective logs for certain things can give you a more accurate picture than your memory alone might provide.
It forces a more balanced perspective.
Exactly. It brings some data to the story.
So, wrapping this up, it feels like a truly fulfilling life isn't about picking oneself over the other.
Not at all. It's really about finding a conscious balance. Appreciating the day-to-day, the moments your experiencing self lives through.
While also thoughtfully shaping the memories that your remembering self will use to tell your life's story.
Perfectly put. It's about managing both perspectives for a richer sense of well-being overall.
It definitely leaves you thinking. Are you living more for the present moment, for that experiencing self? Or are you constantly, maybe subconsciously, curating a highlight reel for your future remembering self? How might understanding this difference change how you think about happiness and what matters most going forward?
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping right into the fascinating world of human judgment. You know, how we make decisions.
Yeah, and we're leaning heavily on some great sources, especially Daniel Kahneman's work, Thinking Fast and Slow. Groundbreaking stuff.
Absolutely. And our mission here for you today, it isn't just like defining cognitive biases again.
Right, we want to get practical.
Exactly. Equip you with real strategies, things you can actually use to make smarter calls in your everyday life.
And Kahneman really turned things upside down, didn't he? Challenging that old economic idea that we're all perfectly rational actors.
He really did, showing our, what did he call it, predictable irrationality.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And he did it by introducing these two core ways our minds work, System 1 and System 2. really changes how you see things.
Okay, so let's unpack those. System 1 and System 2, always running in your head. System 1, that's the fast one, right? Automatic, intuitive.
Exactly. Like recognizing someone instantly or jumping back from a puddle. It just happens.
Almost no effort. Very emotional sometimes. And it's efficient, yeah. The brain kind of defaults to it.
Totally. It saves energy, metabolic resources. Your brain likes the easy route.
Okay, so then there's System 2, the other side of the coin.
Right. That's your slow, deliberate, conscious thinking. Doing complex math, analyzing options carefully. That's System 2.
Hard work, basically.
Yes.
Takes real effort, attention.
A lot of effort. And it's key for self-control. Overriding those snap judgments from System 1.
Which raises the big question. If System 2 is, well, better for accuracy, why don't we use it all the time?
Well, that's the thing. Kahneman calls it a lazy controller. It often just doesn't step in, doesn't monitor System 1 closely enough.
So System 1 gets away with making mistakes, leading to biases.
That's it. Plus, System 2 needs you to be focused, maybe even feel psychologically safe to really engage properly. It doesn't just switch on.
Okay, so biases are kind of built in then. But we can fight back. We can make better decisions despite this.
Definitely. It's about awareness and strategies, de-biasing. One key thing is to actively seek out disconfirming evidence.
What do you mean by that? Like, look for ways you're wrong.
Precisely. System 1 tends to believe things easily. It's a bit gullible. So you have to consciously, deliberately search for info that challenges your first instinct or your preferred idea.
Okay, so don't just look for proof here, right? Look for the opposite.
Exactly. And another great tool is using structured decision checklists.
Checklists, like for groceries.
Well, maybe a bit more involved. For important choices, having a list of questions forces your System 2 to engage. Ask things like, what's the absolute worst outcome here?
Or that pre-mortem idea, where you imagine it's already failed and figure out why.
Yes, that's a powerful one. It helps you spot weaknesses your gut feeling might ignore.
Makes sense. What else?
Well, there's also actively thinking like a lawyer or playing the devil's advocate.
So deliberately arguing the other side, even if you don't agree with it.
Exactly. Take the contrary view. Challenge the main assumptions. It's fantastic for spotting flaws, especially things like groupthink in a team setting. It forces a more robust debate.
Interesting. Okay, so that's about our internal processes. But what about how information comes at us, how it's presented?
Yes. That's hugely important. The framing effect. The way something is framed can totally change your perception and decision, often unconsciously.
Like that classic example.
The 90% fat-free versus contains 10% fat.
Yeah, same information, but one sounds way better.
Right. And that ties into loss aversion. We feel the pain of a loss much more intensely than the pleasure of an equivalent gain. Framing something as avoiding a loss is often more powerful than framing it as a gain.
So the language itself shapes how your System 1 reacts before System 2 even gets a look in.
You got it. It primes your perception.
Wow. Okay, this is getting really interesting because it suggests it's not just about us trying harder. The environment matters too.
Absolutely. Which leads us neatly into nudge theory.
Nudges. Tell us about those.
Nudges are essentially small changes in the way choices are presented to you, the choice architecture. They steer you towards a certain option without forbidding anything.
Like putting fruit at eye level in a cafeteria.
Perfect example. Or making retirement plan enrollment automatic, so you have to actively opt out rather than opt in. It uses System 1's tendency to stick with the default.
So it's kind of guiding your choice gently, using your own biases?
Exactly. It's like a subtle, often invisible push in a particular direction, making the better choice the easier one.
An invisible hand, almost, guiding our judgments without us noticing. Makes you think.
It really does.
So wrapping this up then, becoming a smarter decision maker. It's not about magically eliminating biases, is it? They're part of us.
No, not at all. It's about knowing they exist, spotting them, and having strategies ready to counteract their influence when it matters. A constant balancing act.
Right. Balancing System 1's speed and System 2's thoroughness.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's give people some actionable takeaways. Your roadmap first. Maybe create a personal decision checklist.
Good one. Just 3 to 5 simple questions for those regular but important choices. Like, what's the opposing view? Or am I considering the outside perspective?
And use it. Refine it over time. Second, maybe set up an advisor system.
Yeah, find someone you trust, maybe someone who thinks differently than you, and ask them to be your external system too sometimes.
Like a designated devil's advocate for your big decisions, to poke holes in your thinking.
Exactly. Someone to help you find that disconfirming evidence you might miss on your own.
Great advice. You know what's really striking about all this? Is that maybe true expertise in making decisions isn't just about knowing the right answers.
That's a fascinating thought. What if? What if it's more about understanding the limits of your own mind?
And actively working to overcome them.
Yeah, maybe that's the real key. Acknowledging our fallibility and building systems to compensate. Definitely something to keep diving into.
That's all for this episode of the Deep Dive Cast. Thanks for joining us. We hope you gained some valuable insights. Be sure to tune in next time for another deep dive into the world's best ideas. Until then, keep learning and growing.